All right, Nick, so I got a Range Rover, and I'm a car guy, okay? I'm a DIY car guy. I like my Rover. I want to take care of it. Sometimes that means I need to polish it. I need to get on the paint. I need to get some compound polish, whichever direction. So let's kind of walk through then that. Like, what do I need to do? How do I use my one pad? And if I want to take care of my Range Rover.
Well, let's start the video by saying these are the basics. Okay? You're not comfortable with the polisher, or you're just getting your start. You want to get some good habits. Entry-level stuff. Okay? We're not going to be wet sanding this car. This is not advanced stuff. We see a lot of guys that don't get taught the basics, and it makes their life a little more difficult. So let's start with the basics. We have a one pad. The reason we call it a one pad, let's be clear, because we're going to one-step the car. And what's one-stepping the car? It means you're going to choose a polish or a mixture of polish and compound, and you're going to use this pad to go around and remove defects to a certain level.
What level?
Well, it's going to depend on the clear, right? Harder clears, you're not going to get as much removal. Maybe you got to get a little bit more aggressive and use this with a compound.
Do I ever think percentage? Do we go that direction? Do we kind of look at the paint? Can I really go, hey, well, that's 70%, right? You know, how do I kind of judge how much am I going to get out?
When you kind of test your area, when you're going to pick what you're using, one of the things you have to realize, you're going to see, okay, I got a bunch of defects here. I polished, I did a couple passes, and I removed 50, 60, 70% of them, 30% of them. Whatever you're trying to get out of this one step, you can adjust by adjusting your compound or your polish. And that is a little bit more advanced, okay? I know people don't think it is. For all of you that have been polishing for a long time, I understand this is kind of normal stuff, but we get a ton of questions about starting. I just want to feel comfortable with the polisher. So let's do that today.
Okay.
First, you always want to get it, we call it square. You want to get your pad on here evenly. Always put your finger, you know, it's going to sound kind of ridiculous, in the middle of the pad. Take a look down, center it, you're done. If you don't get it perfect, it's okay.
Is it?
I know people think it's going to throw machines off. The modern machine, if you don't feel comfortable, peel it off, do it again.
And for the most part, as long as it's somewhat, and this is what I'll do, I'll just kind of spin it, and I'll just make sure I'm somewhat symmetrical, right?
Use the back of it.
If it is a little,
Okay, relax, okay, right? Take a deep breath, it'll be fine. Now we get into something that so many people talk about, priming the pad. I'm going to take my compound and polish, and I'm going to prime my pad. Do not, I repeat, do not prime your pad. Do not do that. I'm going to give you the reason why. There's two things.
I'm out of here. I'm out.
There's
what?
two
Don't
things.
prime my pad.
There's two things that cut defects out of paint: the friction from the pad and the compound and polish abrasive that you've made the choice to use. If I fill this up with all this abrasive, I have no more control over it. The other thing is I'm clogging up the ability of the pad to do any cutting.
Oh no, man. I got a shovel over here. Let me go get this shovel. We're going to prime that pad really good.
So don't waste any product. We got a polish here that we have in testing. When you compound, when you polish, you want to mix up the abrasives. This is a pretty heavy shake. I don't care whose you're using. This is ours that's in testing that'll be coming out soon. Go ahead and give it some time, okay? The abrasives go to the bottom. If you don't shake it, what are you going to have? No abrasives when you squeeze out for the first time. That's the number one thing. So we're not going to prime the pad. What we're going to do is...
We're the 4-dot guy?
4 dots, 3 dots. Look, there's a little extra in that dot. You're fine. Let me give you another controversial thing.
Now get the shovel.
Well, the dab guy. I'm going to take this and I'm going to dab this all over the paint. Don't need to do that. Another waste of time. And honestly, I think it's less effective than just doing what I'm about to do.
Okay, so no shovel. And
no
dabbing.
No butter knife.
No butter knife.
No.
No fingers.
No finger.
No fingers.
No finger. We're going to get the pad to work this effectively by simply doing this. We're going to set this down on the panel. We're going to turn it on with the speed we're going to use, okay? Now, this is a Milwaukee. We're probably going to have it somewhere around 4,400 RPMs. If you're on some machines, 4.5.
50-60%.
Yeah, is all you really need, okay? You don't want to, especially if you don't have any experience, you don't want to go in here hammering down full speed. Yeah. First of all, you're going to sling polish everywhere.
Yeah, You'll get it all over you. You'll see it. You'll get it all over there. Absolutely right.
We're going to go ahead and show you. Obviously, we're not going to be able to talk during this time. I'm going to show you how to go ahead and get your area picked out. What you want to use is about your shoulder width. Okay, that's why I turned my back. So I'm going to work a shoulder width part because it's more comfortable to your body. When you reach out, when you go like this, and again, once you get more advanced, you're going to make those decisions. You're going to work bigger areas, whatever. We're starting at the beginning. You want to be comfortable when you polish, right? Because this can get tedious. It can be hard on your body. So stay inside your shoulders. You'll be just fine.
That back in between the blades.
So we got the 4 dots on here. We're not going to have to dab it all over. I still don't know why people do that. And we're going to spread it around the area. So that's what I'm going to show you. And by the way, you don't have to move your trigger around my way, the way we're going to show. You see all these guys are like, oh, spread it on 1 and then bump it up to 4. And then they go, I don't know why my button breaks all the time. Well, you work the hell out of it. Just leave it alone and I'll show you how it works. Here we go. Did I sling any polish?
No. I'm clean. Are you clean?
So tell me why I'm dabbing it. Tell me why I'm spreading it 1.
Well, tell me how you're primed. I think that would be some people are going to go, well, your pad's not primed.
My pad has it all over it. We're ready to go, but the abrasive's on the surface. If I have too much abrasive on the surface, I have no control over what I'm doing. That's why you don't prime the pad. It absolutely, positively makes your life harder. And guess what? You're going to have to blow your pad out all the time, putting debris into the air. Why would I need to do that? I didn't need to flip the switch 1,000 times. I didn't fling it on you, fling it on me, fling it on the car. The reason I can achieve that, here's the number one thing you have to get right with these DAs. The reason I didn't fling it is because I know how to hold the polisher flat. You may fling it on yourself a couple times when you get started. And you've flung plenty of polish in your career, so have I. Because it's flat, where's the polish going to go? It can't fling out, right? Now, you have this introduction of battery technology. You've got to be real cognizant of what's going on because this gets heavy. You're going to start leaning it back. You're going to go to spread it around and you're going to fling it everywhere. I get it, man. That's flat.
Okay? All right. So you said don't prime.
Yep.
And so what have we done here?
We've spread the polish into our working area.
Okay. And now I'm a beginner. Okay. Now have I finished?
Nope. All we've done is
start to put product similar. Let's go with this. Similar as you would put a coating, and you would begin to work out your coating into your section.
Yep.
You want to get some product into your area. Okay. Now you did a what? 2. I know you did shoulder width.
Shoulder width, so 2 by 2 area. Okay. So one of the things, the next basic of polishing is to learn how to hold your pad flat. Okay. This is what you're going to see a lot of beginners struggle with. Many of you are going to struggle with it. The DA works most efficiently when you have the skill of holding it flat. So let's go ahead and give you that skill with something simple. Everybody's heard the put 15 pounds of pressure, put 8 pounds of pressure. I never knew what the hell that was. Maybe I'm the idiot, but I've never had anybody be able to explain it to me. They're like, well, go to a scale and push your hand down, then you'll know. It's like, that's not going to work in the real world, okay? And many of us don't have a scale just lying around that we're going to sit there and press down. So I kind of coined something called dead arm polishing, okay? This is the easiest way I found to teach any of you, anybody starting out. When I drop my hand on a surface, and I just let it rest there, that's a good amount of pressure when you're getting a start.
You don't count your fingertips?
And and the other thing is with DAs, you don't want to press down from the top, okay? Because you're going to throw the balance of your polisher on. So you're going to wrap your hand around, okay? And you're going to let your hand rest like it was resting on the table. You're not putting any excess pressure down, but you're also not lifting up. You're just letting, there's a little ridge here on this polisher. Let your bottom hand rest there. You're going to be able to hold the pad flat, and you're going to notice the next part of this. I'm going to have basically nothing holding up the back end of the polisher. Very light. With these battery, I kind of like holding it just from the bottom like this, right? So I'm going to walk you guys through or let you guys see what I mean by this. And you're going to see how effortless how much you could do this all day and not have like all this crazy, your shoulder getting messed up. Yeah, you don't need to do that. I don't know why. Again, a forced rotation machine, I get it. You can press down and cut really heavily out, or a rotary on a boat, something like that. At the beginning, just do this.
Yeah, we're not
okay? So let's go ahead and show it so you can see it on camera. And you really watch my right hand and watch how little my left hand is really moving around, okay? Another tip, you see when I stop, I don't let the pad chatter. Okay, so let me show you. It's coming right off, okay? You don't want to sit here and let it chatter to slow all the way down. You'll start
so you
to
mean
get some...
like once I've stopped and I release the trigger, don't let it just sit there.
Yes.
Go ahead and pick it up.
Yeah, so we'll show it again. Okay, if you've worked your polish, it's not going to fling everywhere. The problem is when you let it chatter, sometimes you'll get some marks, okay? The other thing is you'll be kind of tough on the machine, okay? So you want this, and I hope everybody can pick this up on camera. Sometimes it's tough. Didn't really look like I was working very hard.
Are you a counter? Do you do that? Do you count your passes type of deal?
To be honest with you, at this point in my career, I don't. Great thing to do when you're starting, though, is in your head, keep a count of your passes. When you really think about this, somewhere around 4 section passes is probably a good one-step rule of thumb. But you need to look at what's going on in the paint. Sometimes you can reduce that number, saving yourself some time. Sometimes you may have to go 1 extra pass.
All right, so somebody might be going, what's a 4 section pass?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go this way, and I'm gonna overlap about 25%. I see a lot of guys that say 50. You can do 50. Okay, but I like to do about 25% of my previous pass. So this would be a pass going this way, and then go vertically would be another pass.
Oh, okay.
Now, let me kind of say something. I don't like to go vertically when I'm near a body line. I like to take it and always go with the body line. Okay, that's my personal preference.
Why?
Well, probably because I grew up with a rotary. And rotaries can get dangerous around the edge.
Come down,
okay, right on this body line, you could really tick it up. You could really burn through it. It's a good habit to get into. This is the same with PPF as it is paint correction. When you squeegee out PPF, you go with the body line, that gets the water out more effectively. So when you polish, to me, I don't like to see guys going this way around a body line. Okay, I just think it ingrains a bad habit, right? You've seen guys just don't realize they're riding an edge, even with the DA on full strength, and all of a sudden they kind of look at a black vehicle and they're like, what? Why is this kind of grayish?
It's not just the edge either, right? Especially if you're a beginner, this is why it's so important. Let's think about this scenario. I'm going through and I'm polishing, and if I follow Nick's process, right, I only stay here, which is great. If I start doing this, here's the tendency. It's not just this edge. How many times am I not going to be able to control it? And now I'm going to start jamming my product, and I'm going to start roughing up my letters.
Well, and let's have a different talk about emblems. A lot of these aren't taped on real well. Boom, goes flying around your garage, your shop, your mobile setup, and it's just a headache.
And it's just too easy, right?
Yeah, you just get your headphones on, dude. You're just kind of cruising.
A beginner might be, oh no, what? Absolutely. I've done it. And so if you just stay in that, always on this, and stay with the body line, it will alleviate that problem altogether.
And now we can help you work a body line. So I'm glad you brought up the body line. There's a more effective way to work a sharp body line, which we don't have here, but hopefully on camera you guys know there's a body line here. So let me show you how to work a body line, because it's a little sharp here, but it'd be hard to pick up on camera. So let's just use the front here. Let me show you how to really work a body line to make you feel comfortable, okay? What you're gonna do is you're gonna come in this way.
Okay,
little scallop.
If we think about it, it's what, like a 45? Maybe
yeah, so
40?
basically what I would do is I'd go to the body line, I'd come back to the body line. I'd go back to the body line. Right?
Not just running down the line.
No, you can. Right? Look, you can just keep it here. Sometimes that gets boring. Look, polishing at times you're just trying to, hey, I want to do something a little different. Let's say this is a sharp line though. You have a sharp line here. Okay? If I was going to do this line, I'm going to come in this way. I'm not going to run straight because guess what's going to happen? I'm not going to get all the way in there the way I want.
You'll see just a little bit right there that never got finished the way the rest.
So let's show you that a little bit here just to make you feel more comfortable around a body line.
Cool.
Okay? So what you saw there is me being able to work into a body line where my pad wouldn't just like chatter against the side. If you look here, by doing that, I'm able to get in there nice and tight, okay, without trying to chatter the whole thing up, right? So this is one of the things, when you're starting to polish, you need to be aware of body lines, okay? But you need to let the body line be your friend and your guide of what I'm gonna do, okay? Not be scared of it. And I know the tendency, because there's so much crazy information on the internet, DAs are pretty damn safe on the edges, but a good habit allows you to transition into more advanced techniques, right?
True.
So when you start, what I think I see happen a lot of times around detailing is guys don't start with the basics. And so by the time they try to advance, it takes them forever to do a car. I could probably one-step this car pretty completely all by myself and 3.5, 4.5 hours. I could have a coating on the car all together 5 hours. That's a pretty nice little day. You've got your car dialed in, you're ready to go.
Okay, so we're talking time, we're thinking of that. We understood that 4-pass, right? I'm a beginner, that 4-pass is a good technique. Okay, still beginner, and I know as you get into more advanced, you really get into more of the arm control techniques.
Sure.
But as a beginner, I've got 4 passes. But what is the speed of those 4 passes? How fast am I moving my arms? How slow am I moving my arms?
So I see that people struggle with that, and you're definitely going to struggle with that. You got to find medium, okay? So let me show you fast. That's, again, when you're advanced, you can make this work. Make no mistake. We know some of the best paint polishers in the world. They're going to be able to crank this thing to full thing and run their arm as fast as possible, and they're going to get a perfect result. They have the skill to do that. When you're starting out, when you go ultra slow, you're going to get frustrated with how long it takes you to do a car. And so you're less likely to do the next car, right? So you got to find a way to be efficient, but understand what too fast is, what too slow is. So let's kind of walk through that right now. Here would be too fast. And you see this all the time.
And they'll do that too. They'll throw that tongue out and they're like, I'm getting it.
100%. I guess that's just like a habit. So the problem there is that you can make that work. And honestly, when I polish cars, that's probably about the speed I'm at now. But I also know what to look for when my polish gets translucent, all these advanced techniques. That's probably the speed I polish a car. Okay, compound a car, whatever. When I started though, I didn't start there. I started by understanding how things were supposed to work on the surface, right?
And for me, that transition for me, I kind of learned and adapt this theory. The slower I go, actually, the faster I get.
Yep.
That's sort of the way I begin to think of it as DAs, and what we try to do with it is, if I just will get, and you're right, find that balance, find for whatever your body, right? You know, some people might have different ways that they need to do it for their body style. And it's like, you know what? I can stay, and actually if I go slow, I'll make sure I'm getting everything that I want, because when you go fast, a lot of times you've got to go back and refix and retouch something that you missed.
Sure.
That if you would have just gone slow, you actually really go fast around the car.
Yep, and that's why I say find a medium, right? Where you're at today is you found medium. That's why you can get around a car efficiently. So let's go with too slow now, in my opinion, where you're just going to be frustrated by the time you get to the end and be like, dude, this took me like 9 hours.
All right, you're onto another panel or something. You don't redot the same dots.
I know, I just kind of...
switch up the
My
dots.
habit is I just kind of put it in a new area.
Yeah, you should, yeah.
Since we already have polish in this area and because we're on camera, one of the things I want people to notice is I didn't put very much either. So let's say I see a defect. This would be a great example of it. I see a couple defects that I think I can get out, but I didn't. I'm just adding a little bit more because the polish is already translucent from our view, right? But what I mean by translucent, guys, is there's nothing more for me to work. Like I could continue to work this, but that's when it's going to cake up on you, right? So we were on the verge, and you can kind of feel it. We're on the verge of, that was the end of that polish cycle. If you have polish caking up on you, you're using an out-of-date polish that's not water-based. You should be using something water-based, in my opinion. The second part is you've overworked the area. You've gotten the area too hot, it's starting to cake up on you, okay? You can do two things. Little spritz of water, that's a little more advanced, and you could possibly sling things all over, or you could just add a couple.
Too much water?
Yeah, you could just go ahead and add just a couple little dots and go back in that area and kind of reactivate that polish and go after those couple little scratches. You're like, I think I can get those out. So it's worth doing that. And when you work polish to that translucent step, you gotta stop, or you have to add. Because if you keep working it, now you got excessive friction, no abrasive, no lubrication. You're gonna start to see, you know, what we would call like those half moon, where you can see the polisher and you're kind of seeing those tick marks. So if you're seeing that kind of stuff, it's okay. Now you have to address what it is, and it's usually you don't have enough polish in the area. That's okay. The reason we don't prime a pad is, look at how in control I am of my abrasive. If I had primed this, I'd have all kinds of excessive polish here. I'd have never gotten it to translucent, and now I'd be like, man, there's a bunch of polish on this.
So, you know, why do people then want to put it all over, right? Why are we doing just dots instead of running it all down the whole part of the pad?
The truth is, I want the pad to be able to cut. The more debris that gets in your pad from cutting clear coat and from your polish and compound, the less control I have, the less cut I have, the less finish I have. The bottom line is, it caught on fire, somebody did it, now everybody thinks that's the way. Elite shops, they don't do it. No elite shop's gonna stop and butter knife the polish all over the pad. I mean, it's highly inefficient and it doesn't work better. You don't wanna clog up your pad. You know this as well as anybody. You've had the times where the bottle squirted too much out. You work like one section, you're like, dude, I got to get rid of this polish. I mean, I got to get rid of this pad. It's just clogged up.
I've had it happen. You said I would know versus anybody, man. How'd you get to that?
So let's go too slow, okay? And let's kind of show you what I think is too slow, which will frustrate you and not want you to polish the car. I can't even do it anymore. That is going to make it where you're just not going to have a good time. You're going to be holding this machine for like 10 hours, especially on a vehicle of this size. So let's kind of show that medium speed. Hopefully it picks it up on camera and you'll see how am I able to have a relaxed, good experience polishing the car. I find that medium. I get it, it's a gray area, but I just showed you both sides of it. If you go in the middle of that, you're going to have a good one. So let's go ahead and show that. This, to me, I can get around a car pretty efficiently. I'm just starting out, I'm struggling, I've tried all these ways. Find medium. Find medium on the polisher. Your pressure is not working you to death. You can see that I'm holding the polisher like this, okay?
You think maybe I can think through if I'm a beginner, right? We're thinking through this. If I'm squeezing really hard,
yeah,
that might be a sign that I'm a little too stressed out.
Yep.
That's where when I've been going around painting, I look down and I feel like, wow, why am I grabbing this really? Like, okay, relax for a second. Take a deep breath.
And like I said, with this heavy battery, the tendency is going to be, if I'm being upfront with you, is to let it droop. That's why I put my hand under battery like this, because now my left hand's controlling everything. I'm not doing anything with this backhand except controlling that I'm not getting out of level. And what I mean by that is these battery tools are awesome. No cord over your shoulder. We should embrace these. But understand, I'm now battling something that wants to pull itself down. Okay? So if you get up here all day, you're going to have a long day, in my opinion. Now, you have to do that on vertical panels, but when I'm on the hood, man, just put yourself in a relaxed mode. Move the polisher with your left hand, and remember, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm just letting it rest there.
Dead arming it, huh?
Yeah, because here's what people don't see, and hopefully the camera picks it up. When I dead arm it, look what happens. It just flattens itself. I'm literally just resting my hand right on this little curve here, and it's relaxed. I see so much bad beginner advice, and they want to skip over all this stuff because they never really taught that many people. We know the struggles. You and I have team members. We know the struggles with polishing a car. You got to start here, right? You got to understand, don't cake up your pad with compound and polish. Number one, get your pad on there as equally as you can so it's balanced. But then the tool you're using, if you have a heavy battery, make life easier on yourself and just support it. Okay, if you don't, then put your hand here, right? It is going to be easy with some of the freestanding or free spinning DAs out there. But one of the things guys have to understand, analyze the tool you're using.
And then 4 passes, keep where I feel comfortable, and that's the basics.
Absolutely the basics.
And what I'm going to do is then wipe off.
Yep.
And advance, we'll get to that part later.
Yep.
But I'm going to do what's called a what? Test spot.
Yeah.
And at this point, after I've done what you just did, I can look and I can go, hey, this is way my paint needs to be the rest of the way. Now, as a beginner, I can know exactly my arm speed. I exactly know the speed of the machine. I can know how many passes. And I just follow that around the rest of the vehicle.
Yep, and let's talk about something here with wipe and polish off. If it's hard for you to wipe off, you got a bad polish and you need to switch out of it. More than likely as a beginner, you've overworked it. And you know that feeling when you're like, uh-oh. So go grab an IPA wipe, like our wipe product. Spray it on there. That way you don't mar it trying to get off of it. Get the wipe out. I mean, hell, even get a waterless out and get the stuff off the surface, okay? Don't go in there and start grinding on a paint. You're gonna make more work for yourself. But understand that if I see cakiness, something's gone awry. I've overworked it. I got my polisher up too high. Maybe sometimes this can happen. You have a really hot garage. You may have less work time, okay? You may not be able to do 4 passes with what you have. So you may have to introduce a little spritz of water. You may have to introduce some things. Maybe at that time you're doing 5 or 6 dots on your pad to give you a little bit more.
Well, that's all in the advance later, right?
The true term for polish is called open time. How much open time and how much work time do I have of that? If it's caked on, your work time is off. So analyze that stuff as a beginner and just, hey man, this isn't working the way I want. Step back and think through the basics. Okay, let me look at my pad. Oh, it's really caked up. Throw it out. Okay, get a new one.
How many pads? Right? Because a beginner, I'm going to go, hey, let me get a pad. I'm going to go around this car.
Yep.
As a beginner, is that what I should be doing?
So I would not get in the habit of blowing out my pads. This is going to be controversial. I would count, on average, you're going to have anywhere between 11 and 16 panels on an SUV, a car, something like that. I would buy 12, 14 pads of the one I'm going to do, and here's exactly what would happen. When I was done with a panel, I'd rip that pad off, I'd put a new pad on. When you blow it out, when you use a pad washer, all you're doing is breaking down your pad. Okay, heat breaks down your pad, breaks down the adhesive on the backing of the pad. You're going to wear your pads out more. If you go this route, number one, you're not going to have debris flying everywhere, unless you have some downdraft $100,000 paint booth in your garage or in your shop.
Beginner in my garage, there's no way I'm doing that, right?
And I get it, man. You guys are going to say, well, pads are...
What about I just go outside my garage and blow my pad there? That's not getting all over everything.
That's very true, but there's a couple things to that. You're having to walk every time. There's more time that you're going to be real pissed when you're like, this took me 12 hours instead of 4. And you're going to forget about all the walks you took. The next thing is, what's the odds you got everything out?
Got it out? Probably pushed it down further.
Yes, exactly right. And so that pad needs to be washed. Think of it like this. None of us watching this are going to take a dirty wash mitt or super dirty towel and start wiping on our car. Your pad is the same exact thing. It's the exact same thing, okay? Once it gets caked up with clear coat you're removing to fix scratches, compound and polish that you're using, it's done. It's got to go to the wash process. And that's okay. I see so many guys that are like, oh, I did a whole car with 4 pads. How many times you blow it out? What's that time? That's more time you're kind of cradling the machine, your arm's getting tired, you're blowing debris everywhere, or you're walking outside. What is the use? The habit you want to get in is understanding, I'm going to get this one pad, I'm going to get one polish that I really like, and I'm going to become an expert with that. And the number one way to become an expert is not to overload the pad with a bunch of clear coat and a bunch of polish and a bunch of compounds.
So just constantly, regularly trading out your pad. But some people, right? I think some people go, well, that seems a bit excessive. I'm a beginner. That seems excessive.
I get it. It's not excessive when you're trying to build good habits that make your life easier when you're polishing a car.
No, it's not excessive if you got a really nice vehicle.
It's a $100,000 car.
I got a Ranger Rover. I should be excessive, right?
Yeah.
I should. And if I'm taking care of somebody's car like this, I should be excessive.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it. If you're a detailer out there and you tell me 10 pads is too much, maybe it's not your time to start polishing cars. It's okay. We've all waited to take the next step. I see all of these things that are being taught, and it's making people hate polishing cars. Holding the polisher wrong will make you hate polishing cars. You won't do it again. You and I have watched it. Somebody that loves their car, they got a 3rd car, it's the sports car they always wanted. They go at polishing. They do know the basics from talking to someone like us or an expert in their area. They get to the end of it, they're like, I'm never going to do this again. Well, it's because the basics were off, okay? We say this on every video. This should be pretty damn relaxing.
Should be.
Okay? Should be pretty damn relaxing. And again, I'm not struggling to wipe off polish. I'm not grinding anything into the paint. We've gotten a good finish here. Again, it's not a black vehicle that's hammered. I get that. But for demonstration purposes, what I want people to understand is there's just information that's been circulated as truth. But everybody that's polishing on a high level doesn't do most of those things. Because most of those guys aren't on video. Let's remember.
Yeah.
Most of those guys aren't coming on video. And for everybody that wants to understand, I've polished so many cars at this point, you've polished so many cars. If you don't find a way to make this relaxing, your life's going to be miserable.
With combined over 45 years of experience, this is why we keep saying, follow these processes.
And it's why we brought up the edge. It's a habit. Yeah. Once I get into perfect habits, this stuff is super simple. You can interchange a million things and still get a great result. You can be in a hot garage, still get a great result. You can be in a subpar shop, still get a great result. You can even polish outside and still find a way to get a great result if the basics are right. Yeah. And so don't skip over this. Don't just say, hey, I know what I'm doing. I watched this other video. I really push guys to understand this is where to start.
So start here. You're beginning, start here. Follow these steps. Hit rewind, watch it again, all good. And what you should also do, hit subscribe. Because we're going to be putting out more videos that you're going to see to get better and better as you continue your processes.
Absolutely.